Welcome. I'm Connie Cay-Santos, founder and chief experience officer of K7 Inc. and founder of Her Seat at the Table. Her Seat at the Table was created to bring together a community of women leaders, allies, and changemakers who believe in the power of connection, collaboration, and shared experiences. We create safe spaces that amplify voices, challenge norms, and empower professionals to rise with purpose and confidence. In this session, behind the mic, the experts reveal how to book, prepare, and shine on stage. We take you behind the scenes with 5 leading voices from the speaker agency world, and they are all experts responsible for bringing powerful stories and thought leaders to life on stage. So let's introduce our experts. Tammy Adams is the founder of TA Speakers Management, a boutique woman-owned agency representing a hand-picked roster of keynote speakers known for their authenticity, storytelling, and impact. With her background in events and signature Energizer Bunny energy, Tammy helps organizations across North America find the perfect speaker to inspire, educate, and engage their audiences. Next, we have Peter Jozak. He is the managing director of Spoken Artist, an agency representing a select roster of leaders, creators, and innovators. Spoken Artist isn't a bureau, it's a filter. Peter champions voices with a real credibility and presence, helping organizations bring people to the stage who truly make audiences care. Next, we have Danielle Sweeney is the founder of Keynote Collective and Keynote Direct. With over 20 years in marketing, digital media, and luxury branding, she brings organizations with world-class keynote speakers who spark innovation and leadership. Her mission is to foster a collaborative ecosystem who creatively thrives over competition, and speakers inspire lasting impact. Next, we have Teresa Beacon of National Speakers Bureau. As the CEO, she leads Canada's original bureau with more than 50 years of connecting event planners with exceptional speakers. With 25 years of experience, she has matched audiences with voices that inspire, inform, and engage. As a past global president of IASB, Teresa has received multiple industry awards and has been featured in publications including the Financial Post, Ignite Magazine, and Vogue. Next, we have Adrian Tambari. He is the founder and president of ADN Speakers, a Canadian agency representing bilingual speakers, hosts, and coaches for organizations worldwide. In just 5 years, his team has delivered over 1,000 programs for more than 500 clients, driven by his mission to change the world one connection at a time. Adrian is also a passionate advocate for inclusivity, serving with NPI Toronto DE&I chapter and sharing his voice across industries across media. Wow, we're so thrilled to feature all of this incredible lineup of agency leaders, each one bringing unique insights into the art of business of storytelling. So let's dive into the discussion and discover what really happens behind the scenes. Welcome, everyone. Next, we have Peter Jozak. He is the managing director of Spoken Artist, an agency representing a select roster of leaders, creators, and innovators. Spoken Artist isn't a bureau, it's a filter. Peter champions voices with a real credibility and presence, helping organizations bring people to the stage who truly make audiences care. Next, we have Danielle Sweeney is the founder of Keynote Collective and Keynote Direct. With over 20 years in marketing, digital media, and luxury branding, she brings organizations with world-class keynote speakers who spark innovation and leadership. Her mission is to foster a collaborative ecosystem who creatively thrives over competition, and speakers inspire lasting impacts. We have Teresa Beacon of National Speakers Bureau. As the CEO, she leads Canada's original bureau with more than 50 years of connecting event planners with exceptional speakers. With 25 years of experience, she has matched audiences with voices that inspire, inform, and engage. As a past global president of IASB, Teresa has received multiple industry awards and has been featured in publications including the Financial Post, Ignite Magazine, and Vogue. Next, we have Adrian Tambare. He is the founder and president of ADN Speakers, a Canadian agency representing bilingual speakers, hosts, and coaches for organizations worldwide. In just 5 years, his team has delivered over 1,000 programs for more than 500 clients, driven by his mission to change the world one connection at a time. Adrian is also a passionate advocate for inclusivity, serving with NPI Toronto DE&I chapter and sharing his voice across industries across media. Wow. We're so thrilled to feature all of this incredible lineup of agency leaders, each one bringing unique insights into the art of business of storytelling. So let's dive into the discussion and discover what really happens behind the scenes. Welcome, everyone. As most of you know, at Ask Her Anything series, we always start with that very first question is, what does your seat look like and what does it look like before leading up to your position now? So I'm going to start off with maybe Tammy, you're on my top left. I'm going to start with Tammy.
So how long do I have is always the question. No, I would say what's really ironic about what I do now is that I was the kid in school that got in trouble for speaking. And it's an asset that became like it's something that became an asset because now I represent professional speakers for a living and people get paid for this. So it's great. So that's where my seat started. But really, I was always a natural connector. I absolutely loved people. I had to move around a lot as a kid, hated it as a kid, but loved it as an adult because it allowed me to be able to connect with people. And I honestly just became obsessed with the spoken word when I, found out that this is something that people actually do for a living and get paid. I was like, I have to be part of this because the impact that people can make from the main stage is incredible. When we come together, when we are human beings with one another, when we share from our experiences, magic happens. And so, yeah, I had the lucky opportunity now of running my own company after working for a large agency for a number of years. And, our motto is more than voices. We are human connectors. So that's our mission, is to really just show people how human we are and to really just elevate voices on the main stage and create more diversity and inclusion within that space as well. So I'm super excited to be here. That's just the very short version, but been running TA for about 4 years now and super excited to continue to see where it goes from here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tammy. Teresa, you're next.
Sure. Hello. This makes me think of, I'm a baseball Jays fan. So Vladdy said I was born ready, and I was born for this industry. My first seat was, I can picture myself, I'm a young girl in the basement of our bungalow, and I have started a library where I share my books with my sister and the girls on the street, and they have to sign it out. So from a young age, I really just wanted to share like ideas and information. And then my first seat in my career, this kind of led me to it, was literally like in the hallway of our business, no desk, just like a chair and a table in the hallway of the business at National Speakers Bureau. They didn't have a full-time job for me, but I wanted it so badly that they gave me a part-time job again in the hallway. And since then, I've done almost every role in the company: the sales, the marketing, speaker relations, client relations. I love what I do, and I love being able to be that catalyst that helps shares ideas to make the world a better place and help people think differently, and to bring that to big audiences and work with clients really trying to make a difference. Feels great.
Amazing. And I really love the hallway story of like, wow, I'm in the hallway, but now I have the seat, the big seat.
Yes, I ended up buying the company with a colleague, so I'm in it.
Awesome. Peter, you're next. What does your seat look like? But
Yeah,
then, well,
sure. Thank you, Connie, for organizing. It was in 2012 that I was just a kid that moved to Toronto from Windsor. Didn't know anything about this industry or this business. I mean, when somebody told me that speakers get paid thousands of dollars to give a speech, it kind of blew my mind. Um, but I just applied to this job at an agency and I got the job and again, was really green into the business, but became really good at it and loved it. Fell in love with the industry, fell in love with the business. And then here we are today. I started Spoken Artist in 2021, which is a speaker agency, and we rep a handful of speakers. And we're doing, for me, it's all about kind of seeing it all come together. I mean, I think we can all agree here that the behind the scenes stuff is tough. It can be a grind, it can be ugly, but seeing it all come together at the event on the day is really what it's all about. So excited to talk about it with you all today. And yeah, thanks again, Connie, for organizing.
it's my pleasure, and thank you for being here. All right, the next person on my little clock here is Adrian.
Hey guys, thanks again, Connie, for organizing this. So basically, I haven't seen the results of the survey you asked at the beginning, but I guess there are mostly planners in the room, and I was on that seat before launching at the end speakers. So I used to be a content director for media companies, CEO network. So basically, I was bringing in speaker as a client myself, and on several aspects, I was like, oh, maybe there's things that we could do to make and improve the relationship I had at the time, not with the people in the room here, but with other big speaker bureau in the US mainly, whenever I was bringing a speaker. And yeah, so basically I took the bull by the horn, and we have been trying for 5 years now to transform the industry. And that's what we've been doing pretty well, I guess. So yeah, our difference with Speaker Bureau, but we're also content experts and only just representing people. And we are also differentiating ourselves on, first of all, the diversity, because I think there is a lack of people from diversity on stages. So we represent mainly women, people in situation of handicap, people from the LGBT plus community. We're also content expert. I brought that again. And mainly what we bring in the market is the bilingual aspect. And I think in Canada specifically is very important because we connect the dots between audiences coast to coast in the country. And that's kind of where we try to make a difference. So in a nutshell, that's what we do, and a lot of other stuff, but that's for it now.
It's amazing. Thank you so much, Adrian. And to answer your question, I just did a copy and paste into the chat. From an audience engagement perspective, today we have 20% are speakers, 20% is planners, and the remaining 60% are industry friends and partners. So a nice, interesting mix here in terms of our audience that's here. All right, Danielle.
Thank you, Connie, for having us. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces. My first seat was a toboggan. It was one of those old wooden toboggans with a little red and white rope. And the person who would pull me back and forth to school, and I'm old enough to be like 6 miles each way up and down hill, but like literally 3 kilometers in the snow all winter long, was my cousin Derek Sweeney, who is the founder of the Sweeney Agency. And Derek started his business so many years ago, and when I was at a bit of a crossroads in my life, my seat then turned into a very creative one. I was a fine jeweler and sign painter and calligrapher and all kinds of things. And in 2019, which is, a turning point in many of our lives in terms of being in the events industry, he said, "Hey, speaking is going really well right now. Do you know anyone who could be in marketing, who could head up our marketing department?" And I was like, well, funny you should mention it. And so my toboggan seat turned into a seat at the table. And it was after working with him for 5 years that I really felt that my seat was shifting to one of management, where I really feel like I get the opportunity to work with people I really, really believe in, and whose messages I like live or try to live and breathe in my day-to-day life. And now I get to support them and help them develop their speaking careers. And so there's been a lot of seats. I feel like there's always a fire under my seat, and I'm always hopping from one thing to the next. But conversations like this are just so brilliant for all of us to keep those fires burning. And I'm super excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. And thank you, Danielle. And, speaking about fires and just the seats that we've had started with, and then we kind of where we are now, there's a transition. And then we go into our very first question about industry evolution, and even the first one of the poll questions that we have, and I'll put the answer here as well for those for others to see, is Do you believe the traditional keynote experience is evolving or becoming obsolete? So from the audience, 83% says it's evolving. We just need to reimagine it. And then 17% says it's still powerful when done right. So for the audience, like for our panel experts, the question is like, that buzzword, the keynote is dead. Is it? What is your take, and how do keynote format, like what does it look in terms of how is it evolving today? Tammy, you want to start?
Oh, I get to go first, eh? Okay. Yay. So I would say that the keynote is evolving. It's not dead. I think people still want that engagement, education, and entertainment from the main stage, especially for, conferences that tend to be a little bit more industry specific, we'll say. And so my opinion on this is like, just like the world has evolved from COVID to now, from wherever, and every decade that we pass, we evolve. People want more engagement. They want more entertainment and more engagement than ever before. That is usually like kind of the first questions I get asked is, are they entertaining? Are they engaging? They want that first. And then the education comes in there, and they have to be able to take those tangible takeaways. So I would say like it's evolving from like somebody up there just speaking to now somebody creating engagement moments within the presentations. So some of the things that, and being creative and thinking outside of the box, right? Because that's what this world is all about. It's all about being creative and getting innovative. So like some of the things we do at TA is like we have our Mr. Human Caffeine Daniel Lewis speaker, and he does tea experiences that are interactive, where he's kind of doing a keynote, but he's also like interacting with tea and teaching you about connection through that. So that's something he does. Or he brands tea so that people can have it as a giveaway, and he kind of customizes the tea to the location, such as like Niagara and Peaches. So things like that. And, just getting creative with like the way that they integrate and interact with the audience in between and during the speeches as well. There's always been a discussion around lengths of speeches. And, I actually still firmly believe that we can do a 45, 60-minute speech and keep people's attention as long as it's done right. It has to be done right. You got to grab them from the beginning and then engage them throughout. So I say it's evolving. I think, just like events are evolving, people want more experiences. We're kind of bored of the same old, same old. So I say, the more creative and innovative you can get as a speaker, or the more you can work with your speaker. I think it's something that people don't know is like, we love to get engaging and work with the speakers and the clients to create an experience. So like even another example quickly, and then I'll stop, is one of our speakers, Sarah McVannell, she'll do these thankful experiences at events. So she talks about recognition and connection. Well, she'll actually create like a thankful wall, or like a thankful thing where you can come up and give compliment cards and trade. So it's about, I believe it's about integrating the speaker into the entire event versus just having them as one piece, and evolving the way that they do that.
You're really the Energizer Bunny with that answer. So thank you for that. I love it. I'm going to skip for 1 second and go to Peter. What do you think on like the evolution? Because you said you started in 2012, still a little bit early time frame, but you've seen a lot too. So what's your take in terms of the evolution?
I don't think there's a real answer to this question. I mean, I think everybody can agree, like nobody's going to stand behind a podium and just, ramble on for 60 minutes. Like that's not in this conversation. I think in terms of kind of professional speakers, what we're talking about here, what's funny is I did a LinkedIn post about this maybe a few months back. And I just wanted to be, provocative and kind of stir the pot a bit. And I said this, I said the 60-minute keynote is dead. People lost their minds. Like it was probably like a viral, one of my most viral posts. People lost their minds. And one of the most fascinating things that came out of that post was um, who agreed with that statement and who disagreed with that statement. The people who agreed with the statement, funny enough, were mostly event planners. Like these are the people that we're servicing. It was event planners that said, yeah, I mean, 60-minute keynote is dead. And it was kind of, and on the other side of it, the people who disagreed with it were the speakers. They're like, no, 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 no. Like, and speakers, they can talk forever. And so I can understand why they were opposed to that statement. But I think it really was kind of eye-opening. And to answer that question as like a yes or no, I mean, for sure it's evolving, but everything is done on a case-by-case basis. I mean, we work on events, where there's 10 executives in a room, but then the next event that we're working on, there's 3,000 people in the room. So, it's a stark contrast. And it all depends on what the organizer is trying to achieve at the end of the day.
Mm.
If they want to try to achieve an experience for their attendees, then they're going to want something different. If it's a group of 10 executives in the room, then they're going to want somebody sitting down at the table with them, collaborating. So every single experience is different. And I think that's why like it'll constantly evolve with any event that you're working on.
Great answer there. And I think we had some reactions to your post here as well. So I'm going to go to Adrian next because I think the pre-discussion that we had, you're quite passionate about this topic and response. So over to you in terms of your thoughts on, is the keynote dead?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And I kind of agree with what Peter was saying and Tanya as well. But like whenever you ask, like when you asked me the question last time, I was like, 100% keynote is dead. And I still think it's the answer, but in a way that the canned, non-customized keynote is dead. And exactly as Peter was saying, like someone staying for 60 minutes just talking behind the podium is something that planners are not looking for anymore. Having a white dude of 50+ years old talking unilaterally to an audience for an hour is something that is dead, and every project is actually unique. So kind of agree with what been said here. I think we do have a industry problem, which is not industry related only, but also just in the world we're living in, that it attention spam. And I think we do have that angle and problem whenever we're in an event. So we need to create something when the attention is going to be a bit at the higher possible during the keynote. So yeah, I think the keynote as it was done, 60 minutes unilateral, is actually dead. A program or a format we develop a lot is kind of a short keynote, then having a fireside chat interview with a leader within the organization to make it more appealing and really more connected with the audience and personalized as well. And also, I think we do have a lot of great assets to go behind, like the keynote workshop is a great thing to bring in if necessarily in an event as well. And yeah, again, like I'm more a believer because I come from the content perspective that a keynote or like a speaker on a stage should be more something very customized and answering a specific need than a show for itself. But again, my only perspective here. And that's why I think, again, that the keynote as it was done in the past is actually dead.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to go to Danielle next because when Peter answered his question and shared about his LinkedIn, your arms waved.
I can't help them. They've got a mind of their own.
It's all good. I love the
But
passion. Go
I think that question, I actually remember that post because it is provocative, but I think that's what's happening in our industry right now. I think things are changing. I think like the pot, and I am a pot stirrer from day dot. So I think that stuff is happening, which is awesome. What I don't know if the keynote is dead so much as the traditional keynote speaker is dead. So to Adrian's point, like this idea, and I'm going to give Meta Nelson credit here because she has this brilliant theory. She's a speaker manager, and she has this brilliant theory about the speaker athlete and the speaker politician. And the speaker, and I love this because it actually speaks so much to what's happening in our industry. We used to have the speaker politician who would get up there, they'd do their thing, and they'd do the hello, Chicago, and they'd be out there and they'd be behind the podium and they'd get up, they get on stage and they'd take off to the next thing. And they are not super interested in changing their keynotes, in customizing. The customization is literally like, what 2 words can I change to say client to customer or whatever else? They kiss the babies and then they take off. And then there's a speaker athlete. And this is who I feel really fortunate to be able to work with, is like, I want the people who get off the stage and are like, okay, what didn't you like? What can I improve upon for next time? Where am I going here? What am I leveling up to next? Because it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be quite right. And that's not the goal. The goal is that constant evolution. So if we're looking at the speaking industry, I think what we're seeing is a shift to the speaker athlete. We're seeing the people who care enough to change based on who they're working with, to adapt their messaging, to adapt, not necessarily who they are or what their core message is, but to speak to people. Like COVID had a major change in terms of like those speaker politicians, those people are gone. They didn't last, didn't survive COVID because that connection was so difficult to do virtually. Now we're somewhat accustomed to it, but at that time they couldn't kind of shift gears. And right now we're finding that the connection piece, however you're doing it, if you're doing it with jokes, you might be doing it with magic, you might be doing it with your vocal tone, with your stage presence, whatever that is, that matters more now than ever. So whether it's a 30-minute keynote with a Q&A or a fireside chat, or it's a 45-minute, like, knock your socks off kind of keynote presentation, I don't think the format necessarily matters. I think the who of the person matters. The guru on the stage, those days are done.
I love that. So much to digest from that insight as well. And Teresa, I'm going to pass it over to you next because National Speakers Bureau is 50 years old in terms of industry and history wise. And you've been part of this, industry leading as an agency owner as well for about 25 years. What does the industry evolution look like to you and the experience of a keynote speaker, the traditional sense?
Thank you. I mean, I agree so much with many of the perspectives here, and I think that's partly why we're in the industry, because we appreciate the value of sharing the ideas and the information and the inspiration. And from like the longevity of the industry, I think it's good to remind ourselves that speaking to a group of people is like one of the world's oldest professions. So it's been around a long time, and it does continue to evolve, but there is value in bringing people together for a shared experience and a shared learning. And the most current research, I have a fascination with neuroscience, and some of my favorite speakers are neuroscientists, Bryn Weingart and Sarah Baldeo. And there's like collective neuroscience research now that actually does show what we've all kind of known intuitively, that when you are in that room together, you get on the same wavelength, but there's a responsibility on both sides. So it did used to be that there was the sage on the stage and a one-way experience. And now there's responsibility on both sides for that connection and that engagement. And when that happens, then people get on the same wavelength. And I think the keynote spot at an event opens the door to the networking. So a lot of people, and the research shows, again, I think 51% of people attend for the networking and the learning. And when you get that learning, then you go to the coffee break or the breakout or throughout the event and back home, and you're talking about what you learned about. So the keynote opens the door for that connection and the sharing of ideas and kind of changing perspectives.
I love that. It's like it's setting the stage for the rest of the event, right? And experience to be had. I'm going to bring us back to the next poll question that everyone answered, and I'll share it here on chat first. And the question was, when booking or attending a keynote, what matters most to you? And everyone, the answer response was 75% says the speaker's storytelling and authenticity mattered most to them. And then 25% said that the topic's relevance to my audience. So I guess it's really working with the planner, understanding what's the theme, what's the topic, so that the audience is engaged with that. It's beautiful. Now, my question for the experts here is, from a speaker development, what qualities do you look for when you're bringing a new speaker onto your roster? And how do you help develop the next generation of keynote voices? Because we know the evolution has changed. It's not just stand behind the podium and talk for an hour. There's a whole lot of engagement involved. So when you're looking for new talent, what are you looking for? I'm going to start with Teresa. We will right back to you, and then we'll go around.
First and foremost, we look for good people on and off the platform. We are in a business of relationships and people, and we want to build great relationships both with our event planner clients and with our speakers. So for us, that's really important. And then specifically in terms of like the offerings, the speakers need to be relevant, they need to be credible, they need to know how to engage with an audience and make an impact so that the time spent together is worthwhile for everyone. And part of our role as the Bureau is to vet the speakers and help coach the speakers so that planners have a confidence in the relationship and the development that we've worked on with the speakers. So I would say that's some of what we look for in new speakers and help coach on.
Thank you. Peter, I'll go to you next.
Yeah. To echo Teresa, I mean, I guess we can kind of boil it down to the 4 C's. So credibility. I mean, if you're a speaker, like, are you actually doing the thing that you talk about? Because there's a lot of individuals who haven't really actually done anything, who are up there as self-professed experts and, gurus or whatever. So the credibility piece, I think, is huge. Currency, which is like why you right now, is what you're doing making a change today and tomorrow, or are you still kind of living from your glory days 40 years ago? And then the content piece, again, like, is what you're actually saying delivering value to audiences? And then the last one would be cachet. So, kind of social influence, that kind of stuff. And that's a hard one to quantify. I guess you can kind of just like, when you see it, you get it kind of thing. But I think that's the most simplistic way that I can answer that question. But again, it's hard. It's a hard industry to break into as a speaker. There is no barrier to entry. So anybody tomorrow can say, I'm a speaker. And it's a very saturated industry. So if you think that you're the only person that does what you do, think again. There's probably thousands of other people on the circuit talking about the exact same thing that you're talking about. So what is your unique perspective? What is your unique angle? And what is your value proposition? And how is that value proposition different from everybody else's? So that's what we look for.
I love that. It makes it super clear. I'm adding another C for you, clear. And your clear, like your credibility, currency, content, and cachet. Awesome. Adrian, over to you. Like, what do you look for? Because I think I see your agency quite different in terms of your focus on DE&I. So I would love your perspective as well in terms of how are you finding your speakers?
Sure. I'll double down on what Teresa was saying, actually. So not someone that is an asshole, basically, someone that is like nice to work with and a good human being. I think that's the first of all. Like, we're in a very human-centric industry, and I think that's the primer important information here. Also, what I think is important to us whenever we're looking for a speaker, and we are like, and I think it's the same for everyone around the table here, like more than 500 people come to us and ask us to be their agent every year, and we've been on the market for 5 years only. And what I'm looking is a roster that is able to evolve regarding what are the actual trends and the actual subject that matters in our world. And I think that's very important to make that evolving. I think that's very something that is very important to us there. Also, I think maybe 5 main elements I would bring on the table here. So the bilingualism, again, in our case, is very important. Of course, D&I, that's the other point, having that representativity, but also the bilingualism is very important for us. That's the first element. If you're not bilingual, basically you won't come into our roster. Exclusivity also is something that is very important in our case. We work 100% almost in exclusivity with the speakers we represent. That's also something that is very important whenever we book someone. I said it, but someone that have something special and match a market need. I think that's something that is very important here. Someone that understands the audience and ability to adapt the content. So we'll echo to Peter's point around the content. And last but not least, someone that represents the beautiful diversity of our society, ideally, because we want to give more voices to people that are not white male, 50% old. So that will be my main points here, I would say. And maybe to finish, like last one, someone that is not like a single product human person, but also someone that is maybe able to give workshops or to give other kind of content experiences through an event, I think is very important to us.
I love that diversity of service experiences, right? Or engagement experiences. Danielle, over to you. Like, what do you look for in qualities for your speakers?
There's so much here. And I think for me, it's just such on a case by case basis. Like my belief in somebody is probably the number one. And I think we all rely on gut feel to a certain degree because we are in sales. And I think the best salespeople do, right? Like that's what we're kind of looking for. But one of the things that I think probably on a broader scope, so not necessarily just with my speakers, but I think one of the things to note is that there's two ends of the spectrum here. Like no story out there is unique, to Peter's point. Like, I have run a marathon, like, look out the door and like, so have the 75 other people in front of my house or whatever else. Like, so we've got this ability where like no story is unique, but then everybody's story is unique. So how are you telling that story? Right? Where someone's, resilience could be I heard one speaker be like, well, I moved a lot as a kid. I lived in 4 houses. I'm like, girl, I did that last year. Like there's this kind of element of how are you telling the story? But her story itself was really compelling and really interesting and really caught hold of people. So how are you telling the stories that you're telling? And how is that connecting on a human level with the people you're speaking to? Whether you are the CEO of whatever, or you are someone who literally just was like, I've got this story to tell and I'm going to see what happens. Some of the best speakers I've seen are actually retellers of other people's stories, but they have a way of making those stories just so compelling and land so deeply in, to sound cheesy for a minute, which I am, to land so deeply in people's hearts that it actually makes people sit up and take notice. And that's the thing that I look for. Like when I'm looking for a new speaker, I always go to see them. And the one speaker who I now work with, she spoke to a bunch of wealth advisors who were on the second day of their conference. So you can imagine what night one looked like. It was I think it was 8:30 in the morning, like coffee stand outside. It was like 85% men, and they're getting up at 8:30 for the mandatory session to see this woman on stage. And you can just see they're all there, like heads down on their phones, like not paying any attention. Within 5 minutes, every single one of them was like this. And that I'm like, that's the thing. That's what I'm looking for, is that sit up and take notice. Whatever the message is, it's that moment. And we know, as being in this industry, we know that happens so fast. So how do you get people to sit up and take notice and believe in you right off the bat? Sometimes it's a slow burn, but I'm going to tell you, if you're on a call, if you're trying to build your career, you're creating your speaking reel, you've got to figure out what that trick is and figure out what your part of that story is that makes people go, that's it.
I love it. I think you doing this is exactly it, right? Like leaning in, catching our attention and making us want more. I love it. Tammy, over to you, because I know you're very specific.
Yes, thank you. Well, firstly, agree with what everyone here has said, like 100%. It's funny because decent human beings first is my motto. So Teresa, like, Daniel, all the things you said, I'm like, no, as Adrian said, A words, none of that, no big egos, anything like that. I mean, who has time for that, right? So that would definitely be my first one. So Peter, you have 4 C's, I have 4 E's. So mine are engage, educate, entertain, and evoke emotion. And so that's what I look for. So I want people who are very engaging there. And what I mean by engagement is you bring the audience into the speech. You're not just talking at them. So you're bringing them in. Entertainment, that could be humor. That could be, hey, if you sing, if you like, you don't have to have those skills, but like, is there something that's entertaining about you? When I've spoken, it's energy. People like my energy. So it's like, that. So entertaining, evoke emotion. You have to be real, authentic, and honest. That's probably like the number one feedback we get, is just like how real and human the speakers are. I think it's about having a conversation with the people in the audience versus you're up there and they're down here. I think that's bridging that gap between the stage and the audience. So that's really important to me, like people who can really be in the moment. Like, yes, you have your planned speech, you have your thing, but can you work off the audience? Like, can you feed and read the room, as they say, while you're presenting? That's really, really important to me. Creative, innovative, people that are willing to like go above and beyond. That's so important. I have such a high level of expectation with that. Like, you have to be willing to do what you need to do for the client. Customization, huge. Like, no canned speeches here. It's really, really important to be able to do the research, to understand who the audience is, and to design the speech specifically for them. Because Danielle, as you said, like, it's like often when audiences come in, I always say you can't assume that you have the audience's attention just because you're up there, right? So yes, you have the stage. There's a reason that you're up there, but you got to grab their attention. Like how many times have I walked into a room? I'm like, what did I eat for lunch? Did I drop that off at the dry cleaning? Like these are the things I'm thinking about, or I just had a stressful meeting. So you need to be able to hook them in the beginning and grasp their attention, because we are so addicted to these, so there's that too, right? This is very entertaining. So you have to be able to make sure that you get people away from one of the most entertaining things that they have available to them and everything that they're dealing with. So there's so much that I look for on specifically with TA. I love saying this now because I think when you start a business, in the beginning, you're kind of like, oh, I do everything. And then you kind of niche down. So, as you do. So we really are about human connection, which obviously is quite broad. But for me, if you need a politician or an economist, you're probably not going to come to me. And I'm okay with that. But if you need somebody on leadership or mental health or, anything in that human people skills, or used to be called soft skills realm, then that's who you're going to come to for something like that: workplace culture, DEI inclusion, etc. So I could probably go on, Connie, for ever of what I look for, but I'm going to stop now in the interest of time. But definitely echo everything that people have said here.
Thank you. And in the essence of time, just a time check here, we have about 8 minutes before we go into our breakout sessions. And what I want all of the audience participants here today to think about is, do you have a burning question that you want the experts here to ask? If you do, please put them in the chat. If not in the chat, feel free to raise your hands and we'll make sure that we spotlight you and you can ask that question as well. So in the meantime, while you think about the question that you might want to ask, the next one I'm going to jump into is really about the planner and agency collaboration. For the experts, the question is, from your perspective, what makes for a strong partnership between speaker agencies and event planners? And what are the biggest misconceptions planners have about working with agencies? I'm quite interested in this one, actually. Peter.
Oh God. Well, I think most agencies, they all play ball. And we're all, I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that the fit is right for a particular event planner. Sometimes they think they want something, but once you start digging a little deeper, it turns out that, I mean, it's not at all what they're looking for. So we can get into the whole co-brokering, conversation. I mean, just don't know if we have enough time for that, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just making sure that whether you're working directly with a speaker agency or if speaker agencies are kind of partnering to work on a particular event, that regardless of who the speaker is, the fit has to be the right fit. Because in all of my years of doing this, I mean, I think we've all seen events where it's gone horribly wrong. And we want to try to mitigate those scenarios as much as possible. And when it goes wrong, I mean, it's like, it affects everybody. It affects the agencies, it affects the event planners, it affects everybody in the audience. Like it's just a really horrible feeling to be associated with that. But that's what happens when when the fit isn't right. So I think I'll stop there. I don't know that I necessarily really answered the question, but maybe I'll just let the panelists pick up from where I left off, or if there's any other perspectives.
Danielle, you got the big smile. I'm going to go to you.
I think I always have an awkward smile on my face. I think that's just the way I roll. But no, I think what Peter was saying was so key, and part of what I think we all try to do, and knowing you guys on this panel and knowing how you work to a degree, we have to learn how to ask the right questions. And I think that's what we're always trying to do, because when I was working as a speaker agent, 9 times out of 10, someone would come to me, they're like, I'm looking for an innovation speaker, or I'm looking for someone, the best, this is my favorite. And you guys will all, I'm sure, agree with this. I'm looking for an AI speaker. And then you're like, okay, tell me more. And they're not actually looking for an AI speaker at all. They're looking for someone because the rate of adoption of technology in their business is blowing the lids off everybody there, and people can't manage the change. So they're actually looking for a change speaker. So how do we have these deeper conversations that we're then meeting the event or meeting planner or the speaker booker, let's just say, because it can be anyone from any level within the organization, at the point where we're actually answering their questions. So I think that's the thing that we're all trying to do is distill the message that the client really wants, or distill it down to that problem that they really need to have solved, rather than what is kind of being bandied about in the zeitgeist. And that is kind of our job in the roles that we're in, whether it's management or agents. We're always trying to get to the core of that message and like, how can we best provide service here? But from kind of another aspect, a really practical aspect, I think part of what I wish more meeting planners knew about us in our roles is that our job is to really make their jobs a lot easier. Like, our job is to be like, you're going to spend 30 hours looking for a speaker. Guess what? We're going to do that in like one phone call or one email. And then we're just going to send all the research back to you, and you can take something off your plate, and we can help you do that without charging you anything additional. And that's something that I'm always on a soapbox about, because it's, let's work together. Because I couldn't even plan my own wedding. I had a wedding of like 12 people because I was like, I will forget the plates or something. Like, that is for an event planner to organize. But like, damn if I can't get you a great speaker on stage, no problem, no questions asked. Like, that I'm good at. So it's these, let's lean into our skills here and let's work together and make this just a whole lot easier for everybody.
Love that. Tammy, I saw your emojis all flying up in your screen.
I'm having a little fun with the emojis, I might admit. Yes, amen to that, Danielle. I think, I go to use us. Like, we are the experts. Like, we are the people that you come to for the speaker portion. Like Danielle said, I would never try to plan an event. I definitely leave that to those experts, but we are the experts. So give us as much information as possible. I think that sometimes what's frustrating is like, it's like, we want a leadership speaker. And it's like, okay, but in what context, who are you, that kind of thing. So it's our job to look into that. But I think it's really important, like, as much information as you can give us is possible. I love it, because then we can tailor and customize the proposal for you, right? To that, to specifically what you're looking for. Have a call with us. Let's make it a conversation, because there's so much more that these speakers can do that you can't just see online. And so that's why it's always like, let's just have that conversation, a short chat. Really just use us as your experts, and then we can get creative and innovative, because we've seen these speakers, we know what they do. We have so many examples, from small audiences to big audiences to all the different things. So there's just so much more that's available. And I think just using us as that expert. Interesting. No one answered about the misconceptions. And I don't know if this is a misconception, but I think sometimes clients think that it costs more to go to an agency, and it does not a good, reputable, trusting agency, not anybody here. So that's one thing I'll say, is that, we take our money from the speaker. It's not like we're adding on anything. So I think that's really important to highlight, because I think sometimes people fear that. They're like, oh, if I go through this agent, it's going to cost more. And it's like, it should never be that case. So I just wanted, it's a bit bold, but I wanted to address that, because I don't actually know, Connie, if there's other misconceptions. I guess maybe because we've never asked the question. But I would say that would be one that would pop out of my head. But just use us. We're the experts. We love this. We're obsessed. I mean, I think a lot of you agents here, you use the knowledge that the speakers give you, do you not, in your day-to-day, right? So we are living and breathing, when I'm feeling burnt out or down, or, I need a challenge getting through something, I go back to what my speakers share and I use that myself. So we can really fuel that and show you how it's worked for us as well as other audiences. So yeah, there's lots to say.
Thank you, Tammy. My phone alarm is going to go off in less than a minute, but I do want to ask one more question that is shared here from Catherine. And the question is, what topics are trending right now? Because I think that's a pretty hot one that everyone wants to know. And what can you see coming in the future? So, Adrian, I'll go to you first in terms of hot topics and what's coming in the future.
Of course, thanks for asking. That's a great question. I mean, it depends again on the audience, if it's like a corporate event planner, if it's a association event planner, but I would say change management in general would be my top one right now. We are going and living in a more than ever evolving world, and people do struggle actually to live and go through all those changes. And directly, of course, connected to that change management is the biggest change we're living in, that we're going to live in the next decades, probably, that is artificial intelligence. So connected to change management, I think AI is one of the biggest subject that we see, that we've seen, I mean, the last years as well. And also now we see, talking about AI, also some people that want to bring a different angle about AI, like the responsible approach of consuming as well AI and this kind of subject. So you were talking, Teresa, about neurosciences and how much it matters to you. And actually, we do have a speaker. She's a neuroscientist herself, and she talks a lot about AI and how today we are ultra connected and how we are able to actually train our brain in a very fast world to evolve through that without burning out. So connected to mental health as well, that is a main subject while we're living through, because again, like change is at the heart of I mean, a lot of the subject that we see. And again, talking about my projects and my clients, but I don't know if everyone's agree here, but that's our perspective actually.
Thank you, Adrian. Peter, I'm going to go to you next in terms of what's the trend that you see and that your speakers are looking for, or your clients are looking for, sorry.
We're getting a lot of asks for just like a good, feel good type story, motivate, like let's motivate. We're working on a lot of SKOs right now for 2026. So kind of fire up the crowd, hype everybody up, because a lot of the AI stuff is pretty much taken care of in the agenda already through industry experts. Although we still do get requests for technology speakers, but we're seeing, I mean, and those are the kind of timeless ones where just bring somebody in, open up the conference or close the conference on a high, leave everybody feeling good. I'm seeing that now more than ever, to be completely honest.
Awesome. Thank you. Teresa, what trends are you seeing?
Many of what has been discussed here for sure. And I think in part it is because we are going through so much change. And even in COVID, a lot of speakers about resilience were really needed. And that's evolved, as a specific example, that's evolved a little bit more to agility because things are changing so quickly. So speakers that can help give you the tools to be agile, to change when needed, and to not fear it. And some of that is that inspiration that makes you feel confident about moving forward. So we're seeing that. And even the AI umbrella is more about thinking exponentially and a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. So we are seeing more clients asking about that. How can our team think bigger, to think about all the opportunities that are before us, and do it in a way that it can allow the organization and individuals to grow.
Amazing. Thank you. Tammy or Danielle, one last minute for any additional trends that has not been mentioned.
That has not been mentioned because it's all of those. I would say, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I don't know, Danielle, do you have anything off the top of your head? I'm trying to think.
I'll just pick up on something that Peter said that I think is really important to mention. And Catherine, I know you can relate to this because we've talked about this before, but like when we're talking about like purpose, or we're talking about leadership, or we're talking about, it's that like it's not a motivational speaker. Let's be really clear. Like no one needs to be in the van down by the river if you're old enough to remember that reference. But like there is that motivating aspect to whatever we're talking about. Like right now, I think there's enough doom and gloom out there that like people want to leave whatever they're leaving, whether it's a content heavy talk or an inspiring talk, they want to leave feeling motivation to do something, to act. So whether it's change, whether it's AI, whether it's leadership, whatever it is, there is that need, I think, for people to feel good. So if you kind of, if you put that into, like, if you are talking about purpose, like what is going to be this, like the call to action for those people? Like what is going to be that motivating element that's going to make them go forward? Because like that's, I think what we're selling is transformation. And I use the word selling a lot, but like what we're sharing with people and what people want on stage is transformation. So what is that transformation? How are you going to make that happen?
Yeah. And I would just add quickly, like tools and strategies to thrive. Like it's like Teresa said, it's like it's not resilience anymore. It's beyond resilience, I call it. Like it's how do you thrive today? What are those tools, strategies in your little tool belt that you could use to thrive, whether that be in business, personal, you name it. So, but echoing everything everybody says.
Awesome. Well, you echoed that. On the screen, as you can see, are the contact informations for our wonderful expert speakers here. Now, We have. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for hosting it.
Are you a speaker, a planner, or industry friend?
I'm a speaker.
Wonderful. How did you think about today's session?
It was great. I'm impressed with the quality of each intervention.
Excellent. Happy to hear that. All right, welcome back. So we have a couple of rooms that was quite popular. And others had more one-on-one intimate conversations, which is great as well. I just want to say we have 1 minute left. A sincere thanks to all of you who took an hour out of your busy day to join us, and to all of our expert panel agency owners, Peter, Teresa, Tammy, Danielle. Thank you so much, your expertise. And Adrian, thank you so much for all your expertise. There was one question that was asked from Heather is, what is the most, how did you ask that, Heather? What was you want to ask it?
Just asking for, the way that people appreciate the most respectful way to honor interacting with you.
With the speakers, with the agencies.
Yeah.
Okay. Danielle?
We were talking about this actually, and
Yeah,
what I
she
was
did.
saying to
I was just doing
Heather,
that.
yeah, I'll just repeat it, is that one of the things that I think I really like, and I lived in the Netherlands for a while, so there's like, they have no filter, is just to be really honest. Hey, I'm looking for representation. Here's how many gigs I book. This is what my fee is at. Like, this is what I talk about. Like, make it short, sharp. Don't tell me you're the best of anything. Like, if I get one more, I am the best AI speaker in the world, I'm like, not gonna lie to you, you're probably not, if we haven't heard of you and I ask a few people. Like, so just be really honest, be really open, and then people are gonna be like, yes, this is a fit. No, this isn't a fit. Let's have a conversation. Let's not have a conversation. But that's just, all that information is out there, and we can probably find it if we want to. So if you can be open and honest about it, that's going to be a great start to developing a really solid relationship.
I love that. Adrian, best way to approach you and reach you?
I mean, I think I agree with Danielle was actually saying. So I mean, you have my contact. I'm very a LinkedIn guy, so whenever you want to connect with me and have a chat, I'd be happy to see if I can help. But yeah, I think if you'd like to develop a career as a speaker, set clear goals and like come to the agency with a clear purpose, and then like maybe it will help evolve quickly within the conversation and see if there's a fit and a potential of development in the future. So just double down on what Danielle was saying here.
Thank you. Peter?
Yeah, totally. Just send me an email. I would love to connect. I think anybody that you're sending an email to that doesn't reply, you don't want to be a part of what they've got going on anyway. So just send an email, super accessible, and always happy to have a conversation with anybody.
Perfect. And everyone that's here today, I will send you the link to the recording so you get the full session, along with all of our speakers' contact information. So direct emails, you'll have access to that right after today. Teresa, best way to reach out to you if they're interested in National Speakers Bureau?
Similar, happy to connect with anyone, and thank you, Connie, for making it easy with the LinkedIn connections. That's probably the quickest way, and welcome, like having a conversation about what you're trying to accomplish and how we can help you. We'll always try to figure out how we can provide value, no matter what stage you're in, either as a planner looking for the event or as a speaker looking to be on more stages. So happy to connect that way.
Thank you, Teresa. And Tammy?
Yeah, I think I would say be human first, like be honest, be transparent, be upfront. One thing not to do, because it just like nobody has time for that, is send us like an entire bio of who you are and of really like I'm sorry, I have to say it. Like just don't do that. Don't, because I'm not going to read it. I'll be honest. Like nobody has time. But if you send me like a little note that says, hey, I was inspired by whatever to reach out to you, like why me is important, I think. And like, can we have a chat? I'm looking to, and be very honest about it. Like I'm looking for representation. I'm looking for this. Then yeah, I mean, I will respond to anything anyways, but I think it's just important to be human first and just be upfront, honest, and keep it short.
All right. Well, we're going to keep it very short. I want to say thank you so much, everyone. We are 3 minutes over time, but I appreciate every minute, every second that you've spent with me today. If there's anything else that we can do for you from a her seat at the table perspective, don't be afraid to reach out to me either. Hopefully we'll see you again in our next Ask Her Anything or Ask Him Anything experience. Until then, see you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.